Welcome to Crusher Convo, where we're crushing the conversation one episode at a time. And today is my season 3 finale, where I am dedicating to the one and only Gates McFadden and discussing her own Trek journey as Dr. Beverly Crusher. Now, first off, I wanted to say I'm just a fan. I don't work for Gates. I don't work for her people. This is just me discussing what I know, what Gates has talked about, and what's out there in the World Wide Web of her own journey and also in her own words. So I wanted to do a quick disclaimer before we get started. And of course, don't forget about my sponsor, Cherry Tree. If you go over to their website at mycherrytree.com, use my code CrusherCombo6 to get 6% off of your order. They have board cube computers, they have Klingon keyboards, and they have amazing little lower deck key caps. So go over there, especially for Christmas, and get your fun computer items. And also don't forget to follow them on the socials at Cherry Tree Incorporated. Now, of course, everyone knows Gates was born in Akron, Ohio, and she went to Brandis for her Bachelor of Arts. She also taught postgraduate degree over at George Washington University and Harvard. She lived in Paris for a short time, where she learned clown under Jacques Lecoq. And she also had taught at NYU for a little bit clown class. And one of her students was Rainn Wilson. And this is what he had to say when he was on the Adam Friedland show.
But this woman, Gates McFadden, was our clown teacher just for a couple of weeks or months. And she was actually played Dr. Crusher on Star Trek: The Next Generation. The beautiful redheaded woman.
She teaches clown?
She is a clown teacher, a master clown teacher.
I think it's always so funny when I see that. I have actually a longer version of his conversation where he was discussing about what he learned in clown class with Gates over on my TikTok and Instagram. So go ahead and go check it out. But here is, the early years of Gates. So hopefully Google was good to me. I found these on, Google Images. I've seen the two right photos, the middle and the right one, before during her early years. I've never seen the left one, and I'm just hoping that I didn't get tricked by AI, because if I did, I'm going to be really pissed off. But it looks like Gates, and it could be a photo of her. However, you never know nowadays, so I'm just going to put that out there right now. Here's also some photos that were off of her website. So if you go over to gatesmcfadden.com, you can see a bunch of photos that she has there of her work on plays. Here's a couple of them where she did How to Say Goodbye in 1986 and Emerald City in 1988, which obviously she did that play in between her time on TNG, which we will get into later. Love these behind the scenes of Labyrinth that she had done in 1985. As everyone knows, she did choreography and puppet movement during her time there under Jim Henson, which is in the right photo right there. She said it was just the best year of her life. That's how long it took to create this movie. And of course, she's talked about lots of stories about working with David Bowie, especially while he, I guess, even recorded the video dancing in the streets, okay? And he was just like, it was just a normal day for him. And she's like, what the heck, you know? So always listen to her stories, especially at conventions. But you can also find them on YouTube. But yeah, I wanted to share these two photos with you guys. So here are some of Gates's work outside of Trek. So of course, you know, like every actress or actor, they start off in soap operas. I believe she had also done, I don't know if it was General Hospital or All My Children or something like that, but she also did an episode there. But she also did Another World, played Mrs. Swift in 1988. Of course, that's also in between TNG. She was Mr. Price's secretary, Muppets Take Manhattan. She did an episode called Gina's Story in 1985, When Nature Calls. She did an episode of The Cosby Show. I believe it was like Cliff's 50th birthday or something like that. She didn't have a name, but that episode came out in 1987. She was Caroline Ryan for 1.25 seconds in Hunt for Red October. She played Diane in Taking Care of Business, which I believe John Delancey was also in that movie. She played Ina from Dream On in 1993. She was Greer Erickson in 1994 on Party of Five. And of course, she did a season of Marker as Kimba. She then was Paul's boss, Allison, in Mad About You. She was in a TV movie, which I actually remember seeing this movie when it came out, Crowned and Dangerous. She was a real bitch, but it was a good, it was a decent movie for that time in the 90s. She was a judge in The Practice. She played Mrs. Peterson in The Division. She was also a judge in Franklin and Bash. And then, of course, as we all know, she is doing the voice of Mother Ascani in X-Men 97. I did want to add real fast that Malcolm McDowell was one of the lead roles in Franklin and Bash, and as everyone knows, he was also in Star Trek Generation, so that was kind of a nice little reunion for her. So let's just jump right in, straight into her Trek journey. So Gates have talked about a lot of how she got into Star Trek. She never grew up with it. She was someone that she said that she never had a TV, especially when she was in Paris. She never, you know, she was always out doing stuff. And so Star Trek was never in her radar. And the only reason that she auditioned is because her agent at the time begged her. Her agent was a huge Star Trek fan and was like, please, 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 they're doing a new show. Please audition. So here is a clip on the center seat where she had discussed about how she got into Star Trek.
As for my presence, yes, that's me. I almost wasn't even present at my audition. I had come out to LA for something else, and I was on my way back to the airport when my agent said, please go to Paramount and audition. Well, what's the part? She said, oh, just go, just go. I went there, and they said, yeah, any of the women's roles.
Doctor, all I've got is
an order to report to sickbay from the only person aboard this ship who can give you an order.
Jean made it very clear that I was a high-ranking officer, that Riker and Crusher had the same rank, and that if I felt that the captain, something was off psychologically, medically, I could ask him to step down. I thought it was a big step forward for women in command positions. The fact that she was a mother and had to deal with her child on the ship.
Mom, could you get me a look at the bridge?
All of those things were why I ultimately said yes.
Now, she actually picked the role of Crusher because the audition scene was from The Naked Now in the ready room, okay? And so she thought, oh, Crusher's the comedic character. I'm totally down to playing her. Of course, Crusher was far from being the comedy character, but only auditioned for Crusher because she thought that she was the funny one, right? And of course, Gates did put in her own flair when it came to Beverly, so that is kind of funny of why she picked her. Originally, there was no Beverly Crusher, okay? There was a Mrs. Crusher, who was dropping off Wesley on the Enterprise because they were trying to do the friendship of Picard and Jack, and so Picard was going to take Wesley under his wing. And so Mrs. Crusher was just dropping off Wesley and saying sayonara. But when they realized they didn't have a medical doctor for the ship, that's when they created Beverly Crusher. And so that is how she came to be. I've had mentioned this on TikTok about how the intro or what, like the description of her character was. And I always thought it was funny that they had said that she walked like a striptease queen. So they were definitely trying to say that she was very tall and, beautiful, and the captain couldn't resist her. I guess only in the first season because we didn't really get much of Crusher, but I always thought that was funny, so I wanted to mention that. Now, unfortunately, one of the biggest things that Gates has to talk about is how she got fired on The Next Generation. And so I have two clips for you, one from The Center Seat and also one from Inside of View, Michael Rosenbaum's podcast that you could see on YouTube. It's really unfortunate that Gates had this cloud over her head all because of a stupid ass showrunner who just wanted to control everything. And he really wanted to control TNG, even to the point that even after he gets Gates fired, he ultimately wants to fire all of them because they are too hard to handle, especially Patrick, who just was not happy with what was going on. And that was the catalyst that got Maurice to be booted out, because all of a sudden he's like, I'm just going to fire all of them and we're going to destroy the Enterprise and kill everybody on the ship and start over. And that was a big no-no for Gene and Berman, okay? But it sucks that that's what it took, right? Unfortunately, at the time, Denise left and then Gates is fired, and poor, Marina's like, I don't even know my fate at this point when it comes to the girls. So that was something that Gates has to discuss, and she didn't really discuss it much up until after Maurice had passed away, which I believe was 2015, maybe 2016, around there, mid 2010s. So she's been open about it. And so we know a lot about it in conventions and interviews and things like that. She likes to discuss about it. So that's why I wanted to show the clips of these two, of her just discussing it. But again, it sucks that we lost her. But of course, when Maurice was gone, they asked her back, and Patrick was like, please, please come back, which Gates has talked about plenty of times. But here are the two clips.
Maurice Hurley, that old school cigar chomping TV writer. The bottom line is he was very sexist.
He wrote women in lazy, tropey ways.
I argued a lot about it with Maurice Hurley, and I think I was not very diplomatic.
He just was not happy with her.
I think I really, really upset him. And I remember at the closing party of the first season, I had been told by my agents how popular my character was. I remember I was saying hello to everybody, and Maurice Hurley looked at me with a look that I will never forget, like, okay, you will see. You're gonna be surprised. And I heard later that he said either she goes or I go. And then it was like a week later that I was told by my agent that I was, fired. Well, they don't call it firing. They say you're not asked back.
No, you were fired. No, but what here, like Maurice Hurley,
Yes.
head writer and showrunner, did not like working with you, and at her demand, you were let go. Is that true?
It was a he.
Oh.
I think it is true. But see,
Maurice,
I don't
so yeah.
know that. I don't know that for sure. But here's the thing. I think they had, like I had said no to Star Trek twice before and went to do a play for $400 a week with Linda Hunt.
Yes.
So I wasn't at all into the business aspect of, be it theater even, or cinema. That's not where I came from. I came from like, okay, guys, we're going to make this the best we can make. And so many of the things that I'd done had been collaborations, like complete collaborations with people. We would develop a piece. So I didn't get this whole Hollywood thing. And there really are politics.
Oh.
Now, even though she came back and that was great, and there were some high moments and low moments with her character, we definitely saw more low, especially when the movies are concerned. And so that's also another, like, what the heck were any of the writers or any of the showrunners or anything that's going on behind the scenes are thinking, okay? Because Gene was gone by the 5th season, and it was now in charge of Rick Berman, and it just didn't seem like they really fully cared for the character. The fans loved the character. Gates absolutely loved her character, but in some cases she wasn't treated with the respect that she was due, right? So one thing that I had learned, especially stepping into my own Trek journey and learning all of this stuff, is just like, man, so much happens behind the scene just to get out even one episode. I remember my husband, because he grew up with the Next Generation, he had said, oh yeah, the doctor was gone for a season. And he never knew why, and he never questioned it. And of course, he was a child at the time, so it wasn't like he was reading tabloids or anything like that. But when I had told him, I'm like, I flipped out my phone and I was like, oh, it says she was fired. And he was shocked, okay, especially for a character that he really did not care for, which was Pulaski. It's just a big shift. And, Gates really had to go through a lot. And one of the other things that she also had went through at the time was, she didn't really do a lot of conventions because prior to her Trek journey, she had a stalker. And now Gates speaks all about that in a lot of interviews, especially Inside of You. So definitely check out that podcast episode. But she just didn't know. She was afraid. She had no idea. She says there's politics involved. She just wants to just do what she loves, get paid, and go on to the next adventure. I mean, like she said, she turned down Trek twice. And Jean kept being like, no, 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 this is great. And I think she had told this story, I believe it's on YouTube somewhere, where she had mentioned that he had called her from his hot tub and was like, this could all be yours if you join. And 3 times a charm, she decided to do it. So there's just a lot that Gates, went through, but now it's something that she cherishes. She loves the fans. She understands it more, I think, is how she puts it, of, why it means so much. So now let's fast forward 20 years after she last played Beverly Crusher in Star Trek Nemesis. She finally got her chance to come back as Beverly on Star Trek Picard. But that almost didn't happen, because when Patrick had decided to do Picard, he did not want it to be a TNG reunion. And he actually took the whole cast. He took Brent and Gates and Jonathan and everybody else to dinner and was like, I'm doing Picard and none of you are going to be in it, because he wanted to do something so different and he wanted to leave TNG in the past. And I guess they took it with stride. They're like, all right, cool, whatever. But Gates really wanted to come back and was hoping to come back for season 2, but didn't get a call back because, Michael Chavon and Akiva Goldsman were basically going a different direction with the show, just like Patrick had said. But unfortunately, we didn't even really get mentions. Now, we did get Riker and Troy in an episode in season 1, and that was kind of like their little nod to us. Patrick just didn't want them to be like part of the entire story, so that was okay. But Michael even had mentioned in an interview, he's like, I just forgot about Beverly. That's why she was never mentioned. She just didn't pop into my head. It's infuriating, okay, to hear something like that, especially for a character that people did love and enjoy. Like Gates said in her interview, she was told that she was like the 3rd favorite of the entire cast. And to know that 20 plus years later, we have these showrunners who say they're huge TNG fans, just kind of dismiss her like she's not important. And so it gives you Maurice Hurley vibes when you hear stuff like that. She went through so much to give us this character that we love and cherish. And people like Maurice just dismissed her as like, nope, we're just going to get somebody else. You're not important. And now we have these showrunners who were kind of doing the same thing. But bless Terry for coming in and giving us fans that not only nostalgia, but a story that fit it. And of course, Patrick was okay with it because it was the final season. But what's hilarious is that he loved it. He loved being back with them. He loved seeing, his old castmates again. And I can't speak for Patrick, but I feel like that's probably his favorite season, right? Now, this also gave Gates an opportunity to do things with Beverly that she wished she had gotten the chance to do back in TNG. She knew she was this badass, fighter and with a gun and a phaser and all that stuff. She knew she was a brilliant scientist. She knew she could run a ship. She knew she could captain a ship. She knew she could be a great doctor. She was a great mother. Like, she did all of these things in season 3 of Picard, and she just got to take it to the next level with Beverly. And I'm so happy for Gates to be able to do that, because it was just something that she always wanted to do that she never got the chance before. So thank you, Terry, for doing that. Now, season 3, of course, isn't perfect, but it at least showcased Beverly in a way that us fans know that she was like that all along. But enough about Beverly. Let's go ahead and talk about Gates's pride and joy. So during season 4, Gates had a son. His name is James, who they call Jack, with her former partner John. Brent Spiner on the left photo is Jack's godfather, and Gates has joked about on her podcast on how she chose 2 Jewish people to be the godparents of her son, as the christening was more for her mother's sake than anything else. She was always said that she wanted to be a mom, and being a mom is the greatest joys of her life. And I understand that completely as a mom myself. Her son is a wonderful and skillful violinist and is now married to the lovely lady on the right there. And congrats to them because they just got married this year. I love that photo of him. He's like 6 months, I think she said, where he's in his little captain's uniform and sitting at the helm of where Wesley would be sitting. And she had mentioned too that, the Enterprise was her son's playground for the first 3 years of his life. And he learned how to walk on the bridge. And so that was something that she always held special to her, that he got to experience just this amazing this is huge imagination here, and he got to live it, right, and grow up on it. But it's kind of funny because he kind of looks like a little mini Picard, and if they did head right in her pregnancy, he would have been a nice little fit, because there would have been no other father other than Picard at this point. So again, I want to just do a little quick Gates' Trek journey, and I also wanted to talk about what Beverly means to me. Okay, I've talked about this plenty of times, but the one thing that I've learned from the character of Beverly is how to be an amazing mom and how to be an amazing leader in her department, how she can be compassionate but also be fierce, and how she can, love with every ounce of her being, and then also fight for what she believes in on the same level. And, again, we never really saw single moms being portrayed at that time. And like she said, that was one of the biggest reasons why she decided to do this character, because it was a big deal for women to showcase them that they can do anything, right? So I wanted to share my love for the character and why this is so important to me with the podcast, and pointing out all the hits and the misses of her character and the show, and other female characters that we enjoy, like Janeway and Seven and Rafi, and gosh, there's Troy and Tasha and all of them, and why they mean so much to us.
Any for your thoughts?
Hi, Jesse. It's Grayson from the Prime Detective Podcast. What do I love about Beverly Crusher? I have to admit that Beverly Crusher has never been my favorite TNG character. And it's not because of anything with the character. It's just that a lot of her problems tend to get solved with technobabble very quickly. And I think that's a problem with all the doctors. They wave a magic wand and everybody's cured. I do love the episodes where she gets to have some critical thinking, like in Attached and in Remember Me, where she's kind of having to be a person instead of someone who can regurgitate Starfleet medical jargon. I also love Beverly Crusher because I love Gates McFadden. I got to meet her at Dragon Con last year, or this year, and she was the nicest, the sweetest, wanting to engage with me, have a conversation. I really enjoyed that interaction. It's a picture that I have now that I will treasure. So my favorite part about Dr. Beverly Crusher is Gates McFadden herself.
It's no doubt pretty common for people from marginalized communities to find refuge in science fiction. At a time in my life when I felt as if there was no place for me in the world, Star Trek The Next Generation was an enormous comfort to me. It gave me hope that things could and would get better someday. Dr. Crusher was a vital part of this. Her character is so capable and confident and poised. There weren't enough women like her in media at the time, or at least not in my opinion, there weren't. While I never wanted to be a doctor or have fantastic space adventures, what I did want was to have Beverly's self assuredness, tenacity, and above all, the courage to stand up for what's right. In that respect, she was and continues to be a very important role model.
Now, thank you to everybody for chiming in. I really appreciate it. But now let's go ahead to our redhead alert. All right, in between the seasons, I will be doing what I did for season 3 of Strange New Worlds. I will be doing live reactions of the new episodes of Starfleet Academy, which airs on January 15th for my Admiral patrons, and then have a quick react and review that will drop on my YouTube channel. I am looking forward to this new series. I am being cautiously optimistic, but I am curious of what they have in store for us, so tune in when those drop. Now, don't forget about my giveaway. Once I get to 1,000 followers on Instagram and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will be giving away an autograph of Gates McFadden to a very special listener. Please spread the word and share my content to help me reach my goal. Don't forget you could submit a penny for your thoughts during Starfleet Academy by recording off of crusherconvo.com, a 60 to 90 second clip. Or you can email me your thoughts to crusherconvo@gmail.com and I will announce your penny live on the air. And my Patreon shoutouts go to Leslie, Dave, and new member Grayson, who are my Commander patrons, and Chuck and Engineer Mark, who are my Admiral patrons. If you would like to support the podcast and enjoy exclusive extra content, just head over to patreon.com/crusherconvo, and you can sign up for as low as $3 a month. Now, thank you guys for a fabulous 3rd season. I appreciate and thank all of my listeners and guests who I've had on the show, like Lori, Kenny, Tim, Cameron, Joe, Jay, Brian, Vernon, Wes, Marcy, John, Ryan, Emmett, Jim, Ollie, and Avery. I appreciate you all so much for coming on to my little humble of a podcast and, gush about Crusher and geek about Trek. I cannot express how much I appreciate it and love you all for supporting me on my own journey. So thank you guys so much. And I wanted to share just a little Crusher Convo stats with you guys. So little fun facts here. I am at 76 episodes total between the 3 seasons. Actually, if you add all my bonus episodes, I am way over 100, but I'm not including those. I have 354 subscribers as of right now, over 3,000 followers combined on the socials. I've done 14 interviews. I have over 6,800 plus downloads on the audio versions of the podcast. And then, of course, I'm at 167,000 views on YouTube. And I am absolutely grateful and love you all for helping me and supporting me through all of this. I couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you guys so much. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas and holidays. I am excited to be coming back next season, somewhere in probably end of February. Haven't really decided yet, but again, check out those quick reaction and reviews of Starfleet Academy, so I won't be gone for too long. But thank you guys so much, and as always, live long and prosper. Bye, guys. Don't forget you can listen to all the audio versions of Crusher Convo on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can support the podcast by buying merch on TeePublic, buy me a coffee by scanning that QR code, or becoming a Patreon member for as low as $3 a month. But the best way to support Crusher Convo is to like and subscribe here on YouTube. You can also find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok, so please follow me there. And of course, all this information can be found on crusherconvo.com.
Crusher out.